here. Yep.
Very nice.
Yeah, I just bought my first Axes, actually.
Really.
Yeah, you heard of Axie Infinity?
I've actually I've heard of them. I haven't really looked into them though.
It's basically like Pokemon on the blockchain.
Yep. Okay. Let's see.
Someone else was entering. Bruce, I'm not sure. Hey,
Oh yeah,
Bruce.
Bruce is the author that's with Chuck.
Oh, is
Oh,
he trying
cool.
to come in?
Yeah, Chuck. Chuck, are
How's it
you
going,
joining over
Bruce?
Zoom?
I am.
Okay.
Chuck's joining right now,
Yeah.
too.
All right.
Ah, how are you tonight?
How's it going?
Awesome to be with you. Oh, there we go. So hey, welcome, Bruce. Bruce is a friend of ours that has been on the podcast previously, and we had meant to be able to. We were going to try to connect a little bit earlier, but we weren't able to. So I just had to text him and asked if he could come on and explained that our conversation would be a little bit different than what the was earlier. But so Bruce, just as a form of an introduction, and Bruce, please correct me where I get this wrong, but is a student of Austrian economics, educated at the Auburn University, and we're beginning a series on Ludwig von Mises, if I say that properly, who is largely credited with probably creating what is the an economic theory which speaks to mankind's best well-being. I'm sort of paraphrasing, and I'm beginning a new book with that. And I'll just kind of let Bruce say hi, and then maybe I'll, if that's okay. But Bruce, let me just real quick on that. This is really kind of their show. We get this together, and we're kind of making it all work from there. But Bruce, Pirates, Bruce. It's 8 p.m. is the segment that I had you slotted for. Yes, to you. Sorry about that. We were switching over here, but
Uh,
I really know that they won't mind at all you joining the call, and I thank you for joining the call.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I won't stay long since, our call was real specific and I think I was going to do that. So I don't mind participating for a little while, what you guys are doing.
cool. It's nice meeting you. I'm Jake. I'm
Jake.
Blackbeard, captain of the Peaceful Pirate Project here. And we're basically trying to create a network of self-sustaining communities, complete with their own food systems, green energies, etc., and then tie those to a blockchain currency in order to connect them all and utilize that as the voting system, the governance system, as well as the currency. So
Great.
big plans, big dreams.
And Wizard.
Then we got Ben, the wizard, over here.
Yes. We were talking about DAOs earlier, Chuck. Um, decentralized autonomous organizations.
Absolutely.
And it seems like that could be a route for us with the project.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't see it any other way. I think that the DAOs, Bruce. So the DAO stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization, as Ben just talked about there. And what's very interesting is decentralization, I would say, is a pretty much heart of the matter in Austrian economics. And again, I'm taking some really big leaps as I'm just beginning to learn that. But I think that decentralized, and where you sort of, not that you, I don't want to say you lack hierarchy, you sort of respect the skill hierarchy with an equal heart and mindset, if that makes sense, right? So I think that in the DAO system, you have, it's a role-based system, and you're accountable to one another for the objectives that you're coming together on. and it's able to be done very socially, monitored, developed, and I think it's awesome. I think it's absolutely the right way to go.
Yeah, we just started learning about them because I connected to this YGG, Yield Guild Games, and they're a DAO, and what they do is they purchase NFT assets, basically digital game items, and then they'll take and loan those digital items out to people in countries that can't afford them, who can then play these play-to-earn games and make more money than they would make at their minimum wage in their countries, especially the Philippines. Axie Infinity right now grew from like 30,000 players to 1.2 million players, most of them from the Philippines. And they have these scholarship programs. So Axie is like a Pokemon type of game, but it's on the blockchain. So you can purchase these little digital Pokemon type battle characters. They're about $250, $200 a piece. So a lot of these poor players from other countries, they can't afford them. So YGG, they purchase these assets and then loan them out on scholarship, and they make 20 to 30%. The player gets to make money, and these players are able to make more money in their pandemic-stricken economies than they can make actually at their jobs. So pretty cool stuff. So that's where I learned about DAOs from, and I'm like, this would be a really good format for what we're trying to do here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Wizard is Ben.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Figured out how to rename
And
myself.
then we have Adriana over here. Andy,
Hello.
she is our ship's quartermaster.
Yes.
We're really kind of like an open topic forum. I'm curious what your topic of conversation was tonight, Bruce. Is it
too.
Chuck made a proposal to me, and I thought, well, that sounds really interesting, because he's starting to read a book by an Austrian economist named Robert Murphy. And Robert Murphy, what he's doing, he's kind of rewriting or representing the magnum opus of Ludwig von Mises, which was called Human Action. So he's kind of rewriting it, representing it, but he's doing it the complete context of the book. He's going to go. He wrote a book that helps people with that same understanding of economics. So Chuck is reading that book, and he said to me, well, why don't I, if I have, as I'm going through there, I'll have questions, thoughts that I have in mind, and I'd like to have you on a video where I'll ask you your take on these concepts, because so my thing is I'm a divine economy theorist. I'm an Austrian economist, but I developed a new theory that's kind of a specialization within Austrian economics. And so Chuck was going to ask me to put not my spin on it, but to explain it from the perspective of a divine economy theorist. So that's what he made that proposal, and we were going to talk about it tonight, about how we could actually accomplish that.
wow?
Yeah. And a good example of that in just the first part of this book, which definitely I would never pick up and read 999 pages of Ludwig von Mises' work that he wrote in the early 1900s, because it sounds a lot like King James to me, and there's a lot of assumptions in there that I will never understand. But I can certainly look at a book that was written about that book in today's language, and then connect with somebody like Bruce who can help me understand it and help us express it to other people. And one of the things that I thought was, I mean, like I was just explaining this earlier, that one of the things that blows my mind, and I can't really even wrap my head around it, right, is the idea that we recognize that there's these laws in nature, right? Like, I don't care what, there's just natural laws that exist. There's the speed of sound. It's all these absolutes that exist, and we rely on them to kind of create this environment that we live in. We know that there's these natural laws, and only to find out in the same way there's natural laws about physics, there's actually natural laws about economics. I had no concept of that. I was like, okay, I need to understand that idea a little bit more. And then I got into this whole thing. It's like, what is economics? And apparently, like that itself, the question is, what is economics? When you ask economists, apparently is not an easy answer. Right? So, Bruce, why is that?
Well, I think the quickest answer on that is that economics, first of all, it came historically bits and pieces over time. And then at the time that science like physics and chemistry and biology were actually getting to the point where they understood their method. So this is in the 1800s when it's actually formalized and using the scientific method. And so the early economists at that time thought, well, for us to be a science, we have to follow this method. So that was incorrect. So, but it also was adopted by the people who are trying to control things. See, once they do that, then they can try to control. So it became very, anyways, it's distorted. So there's a lot of confusion about economics because the true economics, which is what I'm talking about, the Austrian economics comes from classical liberalism. It reveals those natural laws of human action, but it also talks about like similar things what you guys are talking about, where there's individual sovereignty that is really what's critical to be maintained and so that there's freedom, there's prosperity, there's cooperation, rather than mandates, impositions, and dictates. But anyways, to answer your question, because of that break, there's confusion in the profession of economics, because most economists have towed the line of trying to control things. And so then when they try to describe economics, they talk about, production and those kind of things, rather than the human side, which is the human action, purposeful action by humans. And really the best definition of economics that I've ever run across was one given by Mises, this person who we're talking about. And it's the study of the means to attain the ends chosen. So it doesn't interfere with people's choices. They make their choices. What economics it does is basic, and it's not a formula. It's not done through formulas because everybody's doing it on their own. They're doing it individually. They're just trying to figure out what's the best way to do that. That's what they're asking themselves. This is what I want to do. How do I get there? How do I do it? So everybody, no matter what they're doing, they're practicing economics. Like when you say, okay, I want to have this seminar or this webinar or whatever, that's your goal. What's the best way to do it? You could do it on this platform. You could do it on that platform. You could do it at this time. You could do it at that time. So those are all means to achieve it. And every decision you're making about things that you want, that you're choosing, you're applying economics. And that's the important understanding, is that so nobody's separated from it, but nobody knows what it is because they make it sound like it belongs somewhere out there. Then you have to know it. You have to be a scholar to be able to practice economics when everybody's doing it all the time.
Now, a couple things that are interesting for me when I think about the economic side of thing, and that for years I really did approach it as the market. Right, that economics was this GDP thing, and I always knew that the GDP was ultimately wrong, and people have talked about different measures, but the fact that there is a measure in itself begins to indicate a semblance of control unless you choose those measures for yourself, right? So there's some really interesting thought that goes into this. And I think that this economic thought begins to align somewhat with the ideas of Paulo Freire in his book, The Pedagogy of the Oppressed, which it talks about the only way out of oppression is through dialogue. And I think that when we talk about truly economics, that is like the means that I would choose to accomplish what I'm choosing to accomplish, that's truly done with dialogue when we're in cooperation with one another. So I think that there's some like huge understandings that come together through all of this. One of the things that I thought was fun after I was like, what do you mean they don't understand? Like, what is economics? I thought that this one summed it up from the book. Well, I'm going to want to get that quote from you again from Mises. But the answer, the one in the book said, first, it is economics. It says, first, it is about observing the world with genuine curiosity and admitting that it is full of mysteries. Second, economics is about trying to solve those mysteries in ways that are consistent with the general proposition that human behavior is usually designed to serve a purpose. I love that. Like, honestly, I was like, that is just awesome. It just says, be curious, be honest, and admit you've got a purpose and work cooperatively to achieve it.
Yeah, and the dialogue doesn't even have to involve another person.
Right.
You're having the dialogue with yourself. You're
Now,
saying, what is the best way to do this? I mean, if your lips are moving and you're speaking out loud, someone might think you're kind of talking to yourself. But honestly, every one of us, we talk to ourselves all the time. We're having conversations, we're trying to figure things out. And that's basically what you're doing. You're trying to figure out what to do next and how to do what you want to do, So, and that's basically economics.
So from here, I want to kind of bridge a gap back to Blackbeard here, right? And I want him to talk a little bit about the permaculture side of things, what happens in a community or a permaculture. I don't want to call it a commune, but whatever you call that.
I have a quick question.
Eco village. Okay, sorry.
Let Ben ask his question real quick.
I heard economics and action. Somebody mentioned economics with action.
Yeah.
What was that? How did you phrase that, Bruce?
Well, economics is the study of purposeful human action.
Okay. Right. So in essence, economics is like anything you do, really.
It is.
So that leads into Blackbeard talking about purposeful human action with our project.
Exactly. Through the eco village. So yeah, talk about exactly that. Purposeful human action at an eco village.
Well, I mean, that gets into the very beginning, which goes back to that the rat park theory I was telling you about, where basically they took these rats and they had certain rats in isolated conditions, and they had one of the waters laced with opiates, one of the waters that were not laced with opiate. And in isolated conditions, the rats would choose this opiate water almost to the point of overdose every single time. So one scientist created what he called Rat Park, and these rats had purpose. They had all the little rat friends. They had toys, they had games, they had activities, healthy food. They had the opiate water and they had the normal water. And in Rat Park, rats would almost never choose the opiate water. They would always have fulfillment, and that fulfillment would lead to them not needing the drug fix anymore, the stimulation. So it gets into where I started studying about humans and sensation seeking. And they were saying, when you sensation seekers have an overabundance of dopamine. Like they have all these addiction to this overabundance of dopamine, constantly getting stimulated. So when they increase their endorphins, oxytocin, and serotonin, and the other neurotransmitters that are positive, you get them for cuddling animals, this and that, running, runner's high, etc. It actually lessens their need for sensation seeking. So going right back into Rat Park, if you give them purpose, if you give everybody purpose and they each have a role to play within this larger society, and they're no longer isolated, feeling left out, feeling purposeless, they're going to be way less likely to sensation seek, right? So this goes back into tying together how to fix the drug problem, how to fix homelessness, how to fix depression, suicide, all these things lead back to a society where people feel they just don't have a freaking purpose here. Their whole purpose they're seeing is, what, I'm supposed to get up, go to school, then work till I die? That doesn't seem like a fulfilling existence. So being part of a community like we evolved in, we've been part of these tribes since before we got isolated. Even before these modern days, we were in these communities, right? So having a purpose and having a role within these communities is what is required for our mental health, required for our physical, emotional, spiritual well-being, right? So yeah, that all ties back into it. The purpose-driven existence is really something that is what is needed to keep our mental health from declining.
So for tonight's talk on our side, I actually had sent out. So our theme for tonight, our Thursday night theme was be stronger, and it goes to this idea: what do you have to do to be stronger? Or I can't remember what our first one was. It was measure well or something, and then, but in the end, it was about getting support. It was enlist others, enlist help, like get people together to begin working on that one another. But so one of my things, and I want to kind of just choose. Now, do you go by Andy? Is that what you said, or is it Adriana?
Well, my name is Andy. I go by Andy, but my real name's Adriana. I've been like trying to experiment with how I feel about it. So
and how do you feel about it?
I don't know. I feel like Adriana has always been this like regal name to own up to. So I'm like getting there, but I don't know.
Okay, so prefer Andy?
Yeah, I do.
So Andy,
what do you think sounds better as a pirate name, Chuck?
Oh, I mean, why not just something like
Quartermaster Adriana,
or just Driana?
Yeah, right? I know something darker and like mysterious sounding. I'm trying to come up with a pirate name right now too, so I'm just trying to like let go of a lot of things and like allow that to come in. I feel like when you acquire an actual name that's meant for you, like it'll come to you at the time. But also don't wait forever. I don't know.
Right? Isn't it interesting that it's like that you sort of you do get to choose a name, but a name is also sort of given to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. There's that's an interesting concept within our own individual identities, right? Down to our soul, if you will. And then also in life, we get to kind of wear a number of masks, and occasions are which become characters, or in our world we call them brands, and make money on them. So there's things like that you have to do. But Andy, what does it mean to you to be stronger?
Be stronger. I think it's to know yourself without, or like even healing a lot of these traumas and being aware of that and having a sense of grounding with yourself so that you can have clarity and be conscious enough to be here to be making decisions. Otherwise, you get people running over you and running into like, very traumatic scenarios and like just a lot of the pain that's going around in this world. It's like hard to see through if you're, I don't know, like I feel like the majority of people are either core narcissists or they are, there's a term called flying monkeys, which are basically like, they have narcissistic tendencies from the core narcissist. So everybody's walking around with all this fake kind of like, trying to, what's it called? Pretty much affirm who they are or their importance or whatever, having issues with all that kind of stuff. So having strength in that seems to be needed, I think, the most in order to even like like accomplish what we're trying to do, or pay attention to what's really going on. Otherwise it just all goes over your head. You see people not really like living their truth.
So
Seems
putting up
pretty weak.
boundaries, putting up some
Yeah.
boundaries against them energy vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that that's an important thing. I had it a conversation earlier today. There's an interesting idea about the threshing floor, like when you're bringing in the harvest, right? And you bring in all the wheat, if you will, into the barn, and when it begins threshing is when they're beating it against the ground, and all the stuff is kind of falling around, and there's a lot of chaos at that level, right? I mean, it is doing something, but at some point in time, if we allow that, if we think about what that chaos is like, we can remove ourselves from it. We can distance ourselves from chaos because we don't always need to be living on the threshing room floor. I mean, it's a part of life. It's a part of what we live in, right? We have to go through those trials, but we certainly don't have to remain in the chaos. I think that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, you must break away in order to actually have a clear slate so you can figure that out. Otherwise, having the any kind of that energy near you is not going to really like get you to that core to be strong and walk your walk. What is it, like what are you doing anyway, you know?
What are you doing anyway? So Ben, what's your purpose?
What's his
That's a good
dog's
question.
purpose behind him? Look at his dog back there.
Yeah, I love the dog. Yeah, actually, I've got like say puppy on the radar, but yeah, that's like time for a new dog.
I think that dog understands what life's purpose is more than any of us do.
Probably right. Probably right.
I think my purpose is to do what Audrey was saying, give it, or Andy was saying, give it your best self.
Multiple names.
So do you feel like and Andy expressed a lot of healing, right? Is sort of the need to allow the healing within yourself, within the community, and recognizing that there's a lot of people still hurting, and hurting people hurt people kind of thing. Do you feel that like you have a healing that needs to happen?
Yeah, definitely. I think I don't know, maybe we all do. I don't want to speak for others, but I like how this conversation kind of ties back into purposeful human action and economics with when you think of economics, you think of like a monetary system. So you think of like people working. So you think of like people. I feel like we've kind of drifted away from that as a society where we have lost our purpose with our action. People go to work and they don't know their purpose, or their purpose is skewed and they're in a corporate position. They don't.
Well, let's actually just start with one of the things you just said is like the work that we have to do. It's if you will,
Right.
Bruce. 2 minutes. Let's talk about labor theory and what it does to a population.
I don't know what you mean by labor theory.
So when I hear like in the book and they talk about labor theory, that really oftentimes is that the value in the economy is found through the labor.
That's incorrect.
Okay, correct me.
So give me an example. If you put 1,000 hours into making a television, you spend all your time doing that, but nobody wants it. It doesn't have any value. Value so all value is subjective, and it originates in every human being. So humans are subjective, so it doesn't really matter whatever that thing that you're doing, it doesn't have any intrinsic value. It only has value if someone values it. And you're not the one doing that. You're creating something, but it doesn't necessarily have value unless someone values it. So that's an early mistake in economics, where they thought, okay, if I put if I add this item which costs $10 and this item which costs $7, this, and in my labor, I put that in, I'm charging this much, then whatever when I'm done, that's what it's worth, and that's not true. It's only worth what people think it's worth. So so value is not related to the number of hours put towards something, or the number, or the types of products they'll go into making it. It only has value from the other side, which is from you. You're the one that gives it value. It doesn't have value unless you give it value.
And if we go to the idea that when economics sort of first believed that we have to look to labor, that's where all the that's where all the value ultimately lied. And I think that that's where Marx came in, that there was what, like hardly anything other than labor in the price of anything, right? It's like, but now in that instance, like the entirety of your labor also goes to the state. So you've not created anything of value for yourself. You've truly, in their economic theory, created value solely for the state. So there is no value for the human in that case. So, but we had a lot of economy. We've had a lot of business built on that broken theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of the world on that broken theory. And exiting from that broken theory is not just making the choice to exit from it. It's actually now trying to figure out what the new thoughts are. As Blackbeard talks often, is getting the thoughts right. Right? We've been programmed for so long. Our minds have been taken over. We've been brainwashed, however you want to say it. We now have to intentionally choose the thoughts which align with the means to our chosen end. No easy task, but how do you go about reprogramming yourself, Blackbeard?
I mean, first is to realize that a lot of the thoughts that are put out into the mainstream of society are simply propaganda. They want everyone to think a certain way or think opposing to that, cause a bunch of conflict, etc. What's our goal here as humans? Well, obviously, every species wants to prolong itself, survive, spread its seed, etc., and create a better environment for itself, create more pleasure, extinguish the pain that it feels. And I think as humans, if we were to band together, put aside our differences and put that as the forefront of our processes, of our economics, right? If we were to all come together and say, you know what, creating a better world for ourselves, for our peers, and for our future generations is the goal here, then that type of thought process would become dominant. We would no longer be led by idol worship, celebrity, the Met Gala with all these extravagant celebrities and idol worship. They're just pushing us down that route of consumerism, because consumerism and the thoughts that come with it keep us trapped in this slave cycle, keep us trapped working these 9-to-5 jobs. And here we go, we spend 50 years on this treadmill with the carrot in front of us, and it keeps getting pulled away, and we're never going to get it. So what we got to do is reprogram ourselves out of the thoughts that they've put into us. You guys ever seen They Live? They Live is a 1980s John Carpenter movie where basically the guy has these glasses that he puts on, and when he puts them on, he sees through all the billboards with a woman on it drinking beer at the beach. It says marry and reproduce. The dollar bill says this is your God. Everything that he sees through, it says no imagination, do not question authority. And these are the messages being subconsciously given to us. So we have to sort of figure out which thoughts are our own and what we really want as humans. And like you're saying, humans, we have a purpose. We all feel that we have a purpose. And when we're living a life without a purpose, that's when we feel depressed, anxious, etc. What's our purpose here? Well, I mean, every animal, it tries to prolong its life, increase the quality of its life. It betters an environment, hopefully. And we're just not doing that. So obviously, there's some disharmony there.
Yeah, no, that's and I think the if you will, the purpose is to bring harmony. Right, it's sort of to no matter how much I sing out of tune, just go ahead and sing out of tune with me.
I say stewardship of the earth. If we use those terms, stewardship of the earth and the human race, if that was the basis of a lot of people's politics and thought process, we wouldn't be in the conditions we are. You know, there's a lot of people that put property over human life or what have you. And it's like, I'm the type of person that I want to play the Robin Hood game. I want to get as much as possible and then convert it into get as much economic capital, convert it into natural capital, and feed as many millions of people as I can if possible. You know, I don't understand why there are certain people among us that have the power to do that and don't. They're too busy trying to aggrandize their own name as little spaceship rides to outer space when they can literally buy hundreds of thousands of acres of land, grow immense amounts of food, feed the hungry worldwide many times over. No, you know.
Yeah, I think everybody chooses their technology, right, or their purpose, if you will. I mean, I think that what we're seeing is sort of an engineering marvel, and right now we're experiencing, let's call it a. How about if we call it a marketing moment, right? It's this is space made for TV. Is so we get like that kind of thing, and that's exactly what it is. They're trying to make space more retail oriented. At the same time, we're seeing this massive change in infrastructure technologically that nobody understands is actually happening. And it's like as these networks are falling apart, most people get the scratching of the surface. And as we're moving over to blockchain and these new currencies, and you start to really see we're in sort of some very precarious times, and you do have to question why it is those with the greatest means are out buying a lot of acreage. And are you turning it back over as national farming, right? Are we doing something like that? Are we putting it as to a national park, or are we trying to now further monopolize the land? It's a fair question.
Well, see, a lot of these technologies also wouldn't even exist without some sort of worldwide slavery. I mean, you have the Foxconn factories in China that have the suicide nets. You have the kids mining cobalt for the lithium ion batteries for all these electric vehicles and cell phones and laptops. So to sit here and for me to pretend that I'm excited about this, yeah, the technology is cool and all. I really wish it wasn't done with so much blood of really these people that are in poverty being taken advantage of, children getting beaten and abused in order to mine minerals for our products. I just can't get behind a system that does that. And I don't think we should be really focused on those things as a society while we're sitting here abusing the weakest links in society.
But at the same time, think about what we're saying. Like we opened with, is that right now in those countries, people can play a game and make more than ever, right? So like that's okay, right? I mean, that's where the wheel changed the world and caused car accidents, right? I mean, there's always that yin and the yang that can go along with any one of these. I think one of the most interesting parts of this, though, is that we are here for a time such as this, right? And the hearts that we're talking about here, the minds that we're talking about here, of truly trying to create that more equitable world. But that term is wrong. I think that equitable world, equitable economy, I think that's a wrong term that's being advanced, and we need to be cautious by it. But we understand generally what it means, right? That we economically care for everyone greater, whatever that means.
My view is I really don't believe everyone is born with the same type of abilities to do these types of things, right? We have, like me personally, I was in the gifted programs as kids and yada yada, and my abilities put me in a position where I could definitely run a corporation and take advantage of many people that have lesser abilities than I do.
Sure.
And I'm choosing not to do that because I don't feel like that is something that's morally acceptable. Why should my abilities and talents I'm born with give me the right to take advantage of people who frankly aren't able to do those types of things? And is there more value in my life because I was born just slightly more intelligent? And I don't feel right in those type of situations. And I don't think that taking advantage of people that were especially born into other countries, right? We have these privileges here in America, but in other countries that they have literal slavery, and our products and our technologies and our whole entire future, wow, these things are great, are based on worldwide slavery, and I feel that we shouldn't be focused on those things at all until we've gotten rid of the dirty root that's behind all of this. If we can't afford to do these things without slavery, maybe we shouldn't do them yet. You know what I mean?
Amen. Absolutely.
Well, the ideology that is behind it all, I'm not sure how receptive everybody will be to this, but is statism. That's what's the slavery you're talking about is the turning over your sovereignty to others to control, and it manifests itself, at the local level, at the higher levels, the national level and the world level. But so I think what happens is, not knowing that it's really not being able to pinpoint exactly what it is, what ideology there is that's causing all these problems, then there are other aspects are scapegoated, and so it's not that because everything's connected to that. So, when you say that there's a corporation that's taking advantage of people, that's possibly true. But what's driving that is the ideology of statism, not some other thing. And to free ourselves from the statism would be what would restore the balance in the division of labor and voluntary social cooperation, which is the natural way humans interact. Because we're subjective, we make our choices based on our own knowledge and our own preferences. Okay, we basically would have division of labor because, like you said, you have a special skills. Other people have a special skills. They would become masters of those skills.
Yeah.
And that's how they would contribute to society. And they would contribute because humans have, when they're freed from the ideology of statism, they realize that the best means, so again, it's an economic understanding that just comes through observation, is that through voluntary social cooperation is how you attain more than you did if you were competing with each other or fighting with each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so what frees all that up is getting rid of the system that is causing the oppression, which is statism. And statism basically is the lack of belief in voluntary social cooperation. It's this.
Oh, that's
thing that
interesting.
That goes right along.
That is interesting, really.
So people think that if there wasn't somebody to control this, we couldn't accomplish it, and that's this false belief that everybody's learning worldwide. That's the system up above is telling them you need us.
Okay. Wait, say that again, though. It's the lack of belief of what? I love the lack of belief. I think that is
involuntary social.
Involuntary social.
And and literally that's what our project is hoping to do, is create these societies with these division, where there's a division of labor and everybody is volunteering within the society in order to provide something to it.
That's its natural condition.
That's what I've been trying to get back to, I've been trying to get back. That's what permaculture tries to do, is take what was the tribal mentality, the natural way of life, combine it with green technologies, natural technologies from all over the world, and create a Garden of Eden that is a human paradise.
Well, here's the other thing to add to that, you know, what the appearance of the future is that there will be that, but there will be millions of other societies that are like individuals, where they're cooperating with other societies, but they have different characteristics. So the permaculture one that you're talking about, when you describe that, I see that. I mean, I don't know the details, but I see that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the whole world will be like that.
No.
It will be part of a very diverse, voluntarily cooperating societies that have different characteristics that'll resemble the diversity between us. Okay, we got 5 people here, 6 people here. We're all different, you know, but we can work together and we can think. And so societies will be just like that. And so they basically reflect the values and of the region that they're in, and the characteristics of the people that live there. But they also, like, just like with individuals, those societies realize that the best way to accomplish the goals that they're shooting for is by voluntary social cooperation with other societies. So
yeah, dude, that goes right back into our Peaceful Pirate project, because we don't just want to create one single permaculture, but an entire network of them. And each individual land, each individual eco village will be like its own pirate ship. It'll have its own crew. There's going to be the mechanic, there's going to be the this, the that, and each of the crews is going to interact together within a trading, resource-based trading system. So this bioregion specializes in this, can trade with this one, all using a blockchain technology that's private, untraceable by the government, etc. So we can create that strong web of voluntary social connection like you're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
So Blackbeard, as far as the network of permaculture, I don't think I've got to share with you because last week we missed. Down here on the island that I'm living on right now, St. Helena Island, about 20 minutes away, 30 minutes, another island, somebody just came online. They're putting up a permaculture thing there. So I sort of mentioned a little bit like, hey, I've got to connect with you guys. I got to figure this out. So I've got to definitely, we need to kind of make a connection, right?
Yes.
Permaculture to permaculture. And I don't know what that looks like, but I think it'd be just a blast to do that. I know, and I know because of the Rune stuff, you're on a little bit of a social, you're focusing more on that side of things. Have you done anything with the video that you took when you went up to look at the land? I can't remember the name of the town that you went to, but have you done anything with the video? Do you have your kind of intro yet?
Video guy is still messing with it. He said he needs something from us. I forget exactly what he needed. So we need to get him going on that. Unfortunately, I don't think he's like 100% like in it like we are. Like he sort of wants to play the role as a video guy and this and that. So
I got you. And there's no hurry, you know.
Yeah, so whenever he gets to that and does that, until then, I believe that the best way to really make the impact is by getting the land as soon as possible, and that's going to be paid for with the projects that we're involved in.
I was hoping to share your video with this other permaculture thing, but I'll have to reach out to them and see if we can't get them on like one of the Thursday nights. We'll get them to jump on and just kind of do a connection that way.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of fun.
We gotta. I think that linking up with a lot of different permaculture is going to be the way to create that strong web of connections, you know, and each one's going to be different. I mean, the place I took my permaculture course at, they're way less gruff than we are. They're more of like the Santa Barbara, like hippie types, you know, scarf around the neck, artist hat. So yeah, definitely. I think all of us in the diversity will reach the most amount of people. And the reason why these communities are important is sustainability issue, as far as society being an unsustainable, like we have centralized food growing or projects like in California, Central Cali, where 60% of the nation's food grown or whatever. Trucks got to ship it in, ship it out, resources, all these heavy machinery, fossil fuels, and this is our food system. This is how we feed everybody in the nation. We got Los Angeles County, 13 million people, but reliant on the aqueduct system for water. We literally take the entire Owens River and basically steal the whole thing for Los Angeles, right? And we purchase part of the Colorado River too. Los Angeles doesn't have enough water to support its population. So it takes energy to get that water from point A to point B. The whole entire way the system operates right now is very is inefficient as far as its energy usage. So these permacultures creating localized food systems where people don't have to have food shipped hundreds, thousands of miles, picked here, shipped there, packaged, sent to the stores, purchased, the plastics, the materials, etc. And so these systems are going to provide a way for people to live right with the land around them. That's very important as far as our future and growth goes, because human race is growing, and we can see what happens when people crowd into cities and have these densified cities. Tons of pollution, cancers, violence. The overcrowding causes a lot of issues, but there is a lot of earth all around to where if we take these systems, spread out, and create communities around the idea of self-sufficiency, things change worldwide. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the growth of these systems.
I think that
I have to go because I have to be somewhere at 9 o'clock. So
okay.
9 o'clock my time.
Yeah, no, well, thank you for coming on.
Okay.
And I'll follow up with you, and we can definitely take some steps forward. But thanks for coming on,
All
Bruce.
right.
Yeah, it was
Welcome.
nice to meet you, Bruce. Good.
Nice to meet
I
you all.
love the
Nice
chat.
to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Be well.
Bye, Bruce.
Bye.
I think one of the things that you were just saying there, Blackbeard, that I think is key for people to tune in on is the inefficiency of the system, right? There's no economic system. I don't care if you call it communism. I don't care if you call it socialism. I don't care if you call it capitalism. There is no economic system that would, in a perfect design, have us living in the cities. It's incredibly inefficient, as you're saying, to move water, then to reprocess the water, right? Okay, or there's plenty of ability if we actually made smart communities that had the natural water. I mean, water's not the problem. We've got the Great Lakes. Like, we could literally have more than enough water around the world. It's this way that we've grown is incredibly inefficient and unhealthy for the human, the human being. So I think that it is. You're spot on. It's incredibly inefficient. And if we would just start looking at it that way, cities are inefficient. We're told that they're efficient because we can have less overlapping services and enforcement and everything else. But oddly, it seems that in rural communities, less services are required, offered, at least. In rural communities, there are a lot less services, and people live just fine.
Yep.
So
is because people are willing to give up their freedom for convenience, and living in a city, you definitely are reliant on somebody else to grow and ship your food. You're dependent on corporate businesses, agribusinesses, etc., in order to eat, in order to survive. So you're a slave at that point. There is no way that you aren't able to have to go to that 9 to 5 and keep that cycle going. So going into those cities puts you in a position where you can't grow your own food and you can't survive. And if you take out the system that supports you, then you have you're dead. It's going to create mass chaos,
Yeah. I just saw a minister this week, and I thought he did a great job explaining this. He says, I go out into the rural community, and I see these, and like they've got a grass and or a cow, and it's eating the grass, and they actually wait for that cow to eat the grass for it to digest it, and then they milk it, and then they go through like they actually wait weeks and months to get milk. He's trying to put this out, the idea that there's an entire process. And he pulls out a $50 bill. He goes, those who live in the city, this is how we get our milk, right? He pulls out the dollar with the idea being that it's all about convenience. It's all that, like, there is, they don't want to have any of the inconvenience of actually getting the milk. And it's a great little simple analogy. Like, you don't even want to be as inconvenienced as, learning to milk a cow, well, or bottling it or pasteurizing it. How about just coming and picking it up? Is that so out of the way? No, you want it delivered also? Okay, we'll deliver it to you also. And now what do? I'll pay you with this kind of fake dollar. But it's interesting.
And all along the way in the production cycle, resources are being wasted for no fucking goddamn reason when we could just be there right on the land, milking the cow right into our own bucket or our own bottle, getting the cream off the top, getting, and making cheese out of it. And we don't need any of the plastics. We don't need any of these one-time use things.
And we still can have convenience. It's like, okay, we can just, let's trade over 50.
Dude, I don't need to milk the cow. If I'm in a community, I can do what I love doing.
Yep.
I can do the things that are my passion. And someone that loves fucking milking cows will milk the cow. And someone that loves making cheese will make the cheese. And someone that loves walking the goat, aka me, will walk the goat and milk the goat. That's my goal. First thing I get when I get my land is a goat. I want a goat as a pet.
I've actually been looking into the guinea hens, and I'm thinking that could be kind of a fun thing. Andy, what were you saying?
I'm just saying convenience has created a monster in people. They like want to defend it, even like just every little tiny thing. They like, I don't know, convenience keeps going too. Like there's just always something new they want to make more convenient.
I think you were speaking to this earlier, this idea of some sort of like deep sort of narcissism that you sort of can't be seen or whatever it is. But that's exactly, I think that convenience has literally got us to the point that we very often think, not even consciously, but a thought pattern goes through our mind, and suddenly it needs to be exactly as that thought pattern was, because anything outside of that thought pattern just makes me kind of uncomfortable. So if I'm thinking I want to go to Arby's, or I want to go to DQ to get a chocolate sundae, and I say to you, let's go over to DQ and get a vanilla sundae, or you say that to me, like, my first thing is to reject it because I had this idea of chocolate in that little thought pattern. Right. And it's like, why is that our natural response right now? But I think it's due to convenience. I think that
unconscious, deciding unconsciously what you're going to do. They're not even making the proper decisions. It's based on a thought process.
Exactly. And it's just like we act upon it and we think that it's okay because it feels good, because it aligns with our thoughts. But really? Do we really need it? And most of that is simply because it's that convenient. If it wasn't convenient for me to have an option between chocolate and vanilla, right? That thought. So there is something to be said about getting out there and slowing down your life and being a participant in your purpose.
And remembering how adaptable you are.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like this for me. Like, if I'm in a position where I don't even have the options because I'm in a society where there's nothing other than healthy choices, right? If I'm living on that permaculture, I don't have that option between vanilla and chocolate ice cream, because whatever that cook is making is going to be for the best of the community, and boom, there I go. Now I can go make my own food in my house, but the way I see a lot of those things is we have to really limit our options, or limit our information that we're letting in, including all these options, right?
Yeah.
Because there are, I mean, we're just, there are way too many options to choose from, and that's what commercialism is trying to do to us. A good example is cleaning products. For example, you don't need all like 20 different cleaning products for your house. You can have vinegar and baking soda and get everything done pretty much the same as everything else. But our convenience has led us, oh, we need something that has streak free shine on the windows. We need something for this, something for that. And it's really inefficient. Nature doesn't provide that type of convenience. The buffalo roam 1 month out of the year, the salmon swim upstream the time of the year they do. You don't get to choose what you want year round. The berries aren't around in winter. You don't get to just go up and start picking blackberries any time of the year, and we are so geared towards this unnatural convenience. I think that someone was saying, like, children, for example, of course a child's going to choose a fucking cracker over a blueberry. A blueberry is going to have all these different, some of them could be sour, some of them could be this. With a cracker, every single cracker is the same exact thing. There is no difference in them. It's going to be safe, it's going to be comfortable. And that's what they've done to us. When you go to McDonald's, when you're getting those chicken nuggets, it's going to be the same as the last batch of chicken nuggets. And it's convenient to know that. And you're not going to have to,
Craving a code, a program, craving the program.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think there's a lot of wisdom to what you're saying about like just limiting your choices. It's not because you have to, it's because it's wise to. And it's reduce the number of choices that you give yourself in your life, and suddenly you'll find yourself at more peace. And I think that a lot of things, all of the big major religions are going to speak to some of that in form of some sort of idolatry, if you will, right? Where you're constantly wanting something more, and it's like there's more choices. And so yeah, it's obviously limiting your choices, I think, is a healthy. It is healthy, and I think a way of looking at this is it's not saying that your choices are now. You can literally choose anything, but just choose less of them. Kind of an idea.
Think of it like this: like when I quit smoking cigarettes, the fact that cigarettes weren't even an option because I didn't buy them and didn't have them around really helped in my decision to quit. Let's say you're on a diet and you know that you can't eat a certain type of food because your metabolism is slowing down and this and that. Well, why would you keep donuts in the house? It all starts when you go to the store and you make that choice at the store. You can have 10 different types of snacks, or you could just choose some fruit and some this and some that. And then you don't even have those options around. And then you've chosen better choices for yourself. I mean,
all right. And now with that hardcore pirate judgment on my Oreos and milk that I have every night. No, it is really funny. I keep telling myself I'm going to get healthy, and then I just keep telling myself that Oreos are healthy.
Here's what I think about it all, and I warn all my friends like this. All this genetically, does this thing look like a face right here? Look, this thing right here. Where is it?
Yes,
right there.
it does. Yeah,
right here.
Like I would almost say like it's almost got like sunglasses on. Okay.
It's got like sunglasses or like makeup around its black eyes.
Absolutely. It's almost like the Joker. Like
sitting here watching me behind me with this spooky look on its face. What's that? Yeah, so I tell this to all my friends though. Genetically modified organisms, I mean, what they're doing, especially corn, is they're genetically modifying them to withstand higher doses of pesticide. They created a bunch of fucking super weeds and super bugs from the pesticides and herbicides, and the plants and weeds and bugs becoming tolerant to them. So what they had to do is they had to genetically modify the plants to withstand higher dosages of these chemicals. So it's not just GMOs, like people, you have the pro science, like, oh, GMOs are a great thing for humanity. Well, it's not just the GMOs, it's the fact they're sprayed with, multiple times the amount of pesticides that they used to spray with them. And when they're sitting here grabbing all this corn and harvesting it to make their corn syrup, do you think they're really rinsing all those pesticide residues off of it good enough? I mean, they might give it a little rinse down, and then they're just squishing that shit down into syrup, and they're making the ice cream, the soda, the this, the that. And it's not just, bad because it's corn syrup. It's not, we're literally getting high dosages of heavy metals and chemicals that are horrible for us, cause brain fog and cancers and everything you could imagine, diabetes and kidney issues. So this is important because our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health are all tied together. And if we are getting bombarded from all angles, you'd want to defend yourself against that. There's people literally trying to poison you in every way possible, and the food supply is no different. They control it. They put poisons into it, the hormones, the heavy metals, and they just feed it to us. And guess what? We're picking our poison at this point. Do you want to be poisoned by a Wendy's hamburger? Do you want to be poisoned by a DQ vanilla ice cream?
Have a little fun with this. We're gonna have to jump off, but I'm gonna. So earlier tonight, Tim brought up a technology, and he's gonna try to go back and find it. There's a technology basically right now where they're using sound to extract. Tim, if you're available, you want to just share what this is, and we'll close with this one, because when you talk about how might you be being poisoned, I'll turn it over to Tim, and not that this is poison, but just listen.
There is a one of the guys that we're talking with is I've known for years, so I it's pretty legitimate. He's working with a doctor who has figured out a process to be able to use radio frequency to extract certain benefits of different fruits and vegetables and plants and anything like that. Extract that on radio frequency and then inject it into things like water and other things, so we get the benefits of it without eating the actual fruit. So
just put it.
That's really interesting.
Right. So you think about it, that means that literally they're picking up via sound wave from
you hear
one.
Play music with plants, and the plants will go towards the music even.
Yeah.
So that's
absolutely
really interesting on that
And
scale.
the way the vibrations affect the water inside of everything. So
Cymatic.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff.
Yeah.
All right, pirates. Well, thank you again for having us, and we shall speak with you next week. And next week we'll probably bring you more up to speed on, well, we have our little board game getting kind of closer to being explained, and of course there's the pirate board there, and that would be like an NFT, and it's the most basic version of testing our system, and we would love to bring you guys on as alpha users if you'd be interested in doing that and helping us walk through that.
Nice, yeah, definitely.
That's really exciting.
All right, so yeah, we're like I said, I think that we're probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks away from the alpha user part. We're beginning that testing now, and we're going to be working through that. So, but next week we'll bring you more up to speed on that.
All righty. Well, you guys have a good night, and I can't wait to see. We'll be alpha testers for you for sure.
Awesome. All right, talk to you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Yep.
Be well.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, that face back there is really tripping me out. Like I'm gonna.
All right.